wanted us to look at Tsogo. Robbie, we can see for the last couple of weeks, since about the 15th of Feb, the share has stopped making new recent highs, and that is seen as negative. I also want to draw your attention to the week of the 22nd of February, where a clear possible shooting star formation is. A shooting star appears at the top of a rally with a long tail at the top of the candle, which implies that the selling pressure is fierce, that there was enough sellers to bring the price all the way down. The negativity was almost wiped off the table with this bullish engulfing candle of the 8th of March. And that is the critical level of R6.76 that needs to start to change into a support in order to sustain the momentum to the top. First sign of weakness on Tsogo will be visible below R6.01, but that 40-week moving average remains a critical level for long-term investors, and that is waiting at 465. We can see our stochastic is in overbought levels, but have a look, both lines are still pointing upwards, which tells us that the overall momentum to the top is in place. So only above 676 can I assume that the momentum to the top will continue, and below 601, my first warning will be on the table. Also keep in mind, I've got this beautiful, and I want to extend this line because I see this might be a critical resistance level. This beautiful resistance there, waiting there at R7.10 is a possible cup and handle formation with a smaller a right handle as well. So above 710, the cup and handle formation will be on the table, and we can see Tsogo a lot higher. If I go back and we look at the last time the share managed to change this red line, my 40-week, into a support and keep it one, was only for a couple of weeks here back in April 2019, which is giving beautiful opportunity now, since there's beautiful higher lows visible on the graph, but then R7.10 needs to change into a support. Loisa wanted us to look at EOH. Louisa, I'm with you on this one. I also want to add to my EOH position to better my average price. But my stochastic is almost oversold. It's almost approaching that 20 level. But have a look there. Both lines, my K and D line, is still pointing downwards, which tells us the momentum to the bottom is still in place. And the other thing is the recent lows of the shares of the graph has been new recent lows, and that tells us that the selling pressure on EOH is still strong, and that the buyers are not quite powerful enough to lift the share price to higher levels. I am sitting here with a beautiful possible cup and handle formation, and the formation will only be confirmed above R9.70, and that's that trend line that I've drawn in there. Above R9.17, we can assume that the formation is in play, and the target of my cup and handle formation will be the length of the cup projected upwards from the neckline where my formation will be confirmed, which means EOH can possibly go back to 17 Rand, assuming that the momentum will continue and that the buyers will be there to protect the share. My 40-week moving average, represented by that red line, is the critical level. R6.40 needs to remain a support. Unfortunately, at this stage, because I don't have a base yet, the share hasn't stopped making new recent lows, so I don't know how deep my handle will be, but the length of the handle will be the conservative target for this cup and handle formation. So the first sign of strength on EOH would be above R8.21. The next resistance is R8.59. Above these levels, we can assume that the share is turning around for higher levels on EOH. And you've seen now the first time the share changed the 40-week into a support was in the week of the 19th of October 2020. And if I look back, the last time EOH changed its 40-week moving average into a support and kept it one was when it traded around R140.40 a share back in July 2016, where that double top, or some might call it a tweezer top on that pair there, but also a lower high and a possible inverse cup and handle formation that confirmed that the top of the share is in place. It was warning investors that they should not touch it. So let's hope that this cup and handle formation will be the turnaround for EOH for higher levels going forward. Mary wanted us to look at Clientele. Mary, thank you so much for your thank you. We are always grateful to hear that, viewers enjoy the show and that they are learning. Clientele stochastic is sitting on a 66. But have a look at that K line. It almost looks like a pot plant that haven't had water for quite a while. Almost like my pot plants, they're going sideways. That tells us possible loss of momentum. So 1, the 40-week moving average, my red line, needs to remain a support. That is waiting at R9.04. And for the last 3 weeks, the share struggled to change R10.50 into a support. So that's the next critical level where buyers need to start protecting the share to maybe take it possibly back to that resistance waiting at R12.49. Because then I might be confirming a possible cup and handle formation, and some might even call it a double bottom because the support on my left or my right loop is so much close to my left side that some might even call it a double bottom. We're above the 40-week moving average. That's our line in the sand, the protection level, waiting at R9.04. But if that level of R12.49 starts to change into a support, the conservative target of my double bottom will be, if the full formation plays out, around R17.39. The critical level on Clientele Murray that needs to remain in place is the support that has been in place since about that week of the 9th of November. You can see every time the share barely tested the 40-week, could not. Every time it retraced, that level of R8.01 remained a support. And that tells you the importance of that level that has to remain in place in order to sustain the momentum to the top. Kevin wanted us to look at Macy's, listed in the US, a very famous retailer. But we at the moment, Kevin, there is an evening star formation. An evening star formation is a 3-candle pattern formation. First candle is a bullish engulfing candle, followed by any type of doji candle. And this is a clear example of a gravestone doji candle. Long tail at the top, small real body, and a very tiny bottom shadow. And then followed my third candle is normally a bearish engulfing candle. And that implies that the top of the share is in place. So be careful for Macy's at the moment. Only when that high of $21.10 starts to change into a support again, we can assume that the momentum to the top can continue. And also take note here, the high of last week, 15th of March, there at R21.10 is a little bit lower than that high of the 25th of Jan, waiting at $22.30. And that implies loss of momentum. It implies that every time the share rallied, there was not enough buyers to continue to protect it to higher levels. This possible cup and handle formation that we've spoken about have beautifully played out. That window that we were waiting for closed the window, and now it's a matter of where I'm going to take profits. Yes, my stochastic is not in ideal levels, 63.73, but this candle pattern, this evening star formation tells us that, hey, the day is behind us and the evening is coming. So maybe we can consider taking profit, waiting for the share to pull back and to buy it again at lower levels. My 40-week moving average, the critical level, waiting at $9.90 for long-term investors. Still coming from an extremely low base. If I look at the history of Macy's, when it traded back in July 2015 at around $72.20. There's only a few warning formations at the top of candles that warns evening stars, double top, triple tops, and head and shoulder formations. Kevin, it should not be ignored. Elizabeth wanted us to look at the rand against the British pound. We've spoken before about this possible inverse cup and handle formation. And at the moment, the rand is trading below the 40-week moving average that represents that red line, which tells us the strength of the rand against the British pound is in place. The critical, and I'm going to use this diagonal line to highlight the support of the rand. And below that level, I can assume that we can see lower levels. And that is waiting at R20.36. Below R20.36, I can assume that the strength in the rand against the pound will continue. only when the rand starts to consolidate above 20 rand 80 against the pound can I assume that we can maybe see a weaker rand. The 40-week, as long as a currency pair trades on a weekly graph below its 40-week moving average, the weaker currency, the assumption is then that the weaker currency, the strength of the weaker currency will continue. So our rand is below the 40-week moving average at the moment against the pound, which tells us the strength is in place. Have a look at that stochastic indicator. Both lines coming from overbought levels, still pointing downwards, tells us clearly that the momentum to the bottom, is in place. Strong support levels is waiting at 20 rand, nice psychological level, and then obviously that support waiting at 19 rand 42, a critical level on the rand against the British pound. For not to shock, but just to be, an analyst, if I take the full target of my inverse cup and handle formation, it's the length of the cup projected downwards from the neckline where that formation has already been confirmed, means my rand against the British pound can go back to 17 rand 92. Extremely strong levels. Only above, as I said, above 2080 can we assume more weakness in the rand against the British pound. Ruth wanted us to look at Johnson & Johnson. I'm running out of time here. Sorry, Ruth. Ticker J&J on the New York Stock Exchange. Stunning shooting star candle there. Ruth highlighting that, hey, the top of the share might be impressed. Consider taking profit. But have a look here. This candle with the long shadow at the bottom applied again. Hey, protection from buyers. My K line seems to be turning around. So the critical level that needs to change into a support on Johnson & Johnson is waiting at $161.56. Protection level, I'm going to use my 40-week moving average. That gives me enough space. Waiting at $151.80. And look how close my tail came to that 40-week. Almost tested it and bounced, and the share price bounced from that. That is seen as very positive. Critical levels that needs to change into support 168.02 and that high of $173.65. Don't forget to send through your request for next week's show. Have a fantastic week. Take care.